By 2022, the world had changed. AI had escaped the lab. It was no longer the quiet pursuit of researchers or the dream of futurists. It was everywhere. Recommendation engines shaped our attention, algorithms moved trillions in markets, and machine learning whispered behind the scenes of medicine, logistics, and politics. Yet for all the brilliance of this new age, something darker stirred beneath: chaos in the data. Every company, every government, every university was drowning in information. Models were growing larger, more complex, yet the foundations beneath them, the data pipelines, the governance, the trust, were buckling. That's when Databricks' moment arrived. Ali Ghodsi had long said that data was the soil from which intelligence grows. If you wanted strong trees, you needed fertile ground. Most of Silicon Valley was obsessed with the branches, the shiny applications, the talking machines, but Ghodsi and his team focused on the roots. In meeting after meeting, he repeated the same phrase: if we democratize data, we democratize intelligence. It became both slogan and creed. At Databricks' San Francisco headquarters, now far larger and sleeker than the old falafel-adjacent office, the air was charged with purpose. Engineers debated how to make AI training as accessible as Excel spreadsheets once were. Product designers sketched new interfaces for non-programmers. And in the center of it all, Ali walked the floor quietly, listening more than speaking. He had grown into his role as CEO with a kind of monk-like steadiness. Where others sought to dominate markets, he sought to liberate creativity. His eyes, often calm but intense, held a strange mix of academic curiosity and entrepreneurial fire. In one meeting with young engineers, a discussion about product scalability spiraled into arguments over cost efficiency. Voices grew tense. Then Ali raised his hand gently and said, "Remember, the most scalable thing in the world isn't code. It's trust. Build that first." The room fell silent. Everyone wrote it down. That year, Databricks made a bold move, acquiring a startup called Mosaic ML, an open-source platform for large language models. The news rippled through the AI world. It was a statement. Databricks wasn't content to be the plumbing beneath AI. It wanted to shape the future of AI itself. When journalists asked Ghodsi why he bought Mosaic ML, he said, "Because AI shouldn't be locked behind corporate walls. It should belong to everyone." Those words captured his philosophy. Openness as power, transparency as ethics. Inside the company, engineers started calling him the quiet radical. But even as Databricks soared, Ali remained haunted by one recurring thought, that the more powerful technology became, the more fragile humanity's sense of purpose seemed. He often spent evenings in his office long after others left, staring out over the Bay Bridge, watching ships crawl across the dark water. He thought about his childhood, the fear, the exile, the longing to belong, and how data in its purest form was just another quest for belonging. "Every number," he once said, "is a fragment of a story. We just have to learn how to listen." The company's internal culture mirrored that belief. Rather than the cutthroat, ego-driven energy that powered many Silicon Valley firms, Databricks cultivated something more like a guild. Teams collaborated across disciplines. Senior engineers mentored interns like apprentices. Success was measured not by who shouted loudest, but by who solved the hardest problems quietly. Ali encouraged the habit of open Fridays, days when anyone could pitch wild ideas, from product experiments to social initiatives. One Friday, a young designer proposed creating free educational programs to teach data literacy to underprivileged students worldwide. Ali approved it instantly. "If data is the new literacy," he said, "then we can't let anyone be illiterate." Months later, the Databricks Academy was born, a global learning platform offering free courses on data engineering and AI fundamentals. Within a year, hundreds of thousands of students had enrolled. It was one of Ali's proudest moments, not because it grew the brand, but because it aligned with his deepest conviction, that creativity and intelligence must never become privileges. As Databricks expanded, its influence reached into every corner of industry. Banks used it to detect fraud in milliseconds. Hospitals used it to predict patient risk. Climate scientists used it to simulate carbon flows across oceans. And yet, Ghodsi rarely talked about the money or market share. When asked what drove him, he smiled slightly and said, "Impact ages better than valuation." Still, numbers told their own story. Databricks' valuation surged past $43 billion. Investors whispered about one of the most anticipated IPOs in tech history. Ghodsi, however, kept the company private for as long as possible. He wanted to grow with integrity, not impatience. His co-founders, Matej Zaharia, Ion Stoica, Reynold Exian, Patrick Wendell, and others, remained deeply involved. They were no longer just researchers or coders, they were stewards of a new ecosystem. The Berkeley roots still ran deep, and they reminded each other often. Don't forget where the spark came from. Meanwhile, outside Databricks' walls, the world was wrestling with AI's rapid ascent. Generative models were composing music, writing code, generating art. For the first time, machines weren't just calculating, they were creating. To many, it was exhilarating. To others, terrifying. Ali viewed it differently. AI, he said, is not a replacement for human imagination, it's a reflection of it. In an interview with the Financial Times, he explained, "Our goal is not to make machines think like humans, but to help humans think better. Faster, deeper, more connectedly." That quote went viral across the tech world. For a brief moment, amid the noise of hype and fear, it reminded people why AI mattered in the first place. Not to replace us, but to amplify us. By 2023, Databricks was more than a company. It was an idea. A fusion of academia's rigor, Silicon Valley's energy, and Ghodsi's moral clarity. He often likened Databricks to a symphony. Data engineers are the rhythm. Scientists are the melody. AI is the harmony. And if we play it right, the song we make is progress. That philosophy spread far beyond tech. Universities cited Databricks as a model of research commercialization done right. Governments looked to its architecture for managing national data. Other startups borrowed its open-source ethos. In boardrooms across the globe, people began to say, "We need a Databricks of our industry." But beneath the global accolades, Ghodsi never lost sight of the human core. When he visited the Stockholm office one winter, he asked an engineer from Syria how his family was doing. The young man, surprised, said softly, "They're safe now. Thank you." Ali smiled. "Then we're doing our job," he said. To him, technology was never just infrastructure, it was empathy at scale. He would later tell an audience at a UN summit, "Data connects us. It tells the story of who we are. Not as companies or countries, but as one human civilization trying to understand itself." The audience rose in applause. It wasn't the usual tech pitch. It was something older, almost spiritual. The belief that knowledge, when shared freely, becomes a form of love. And yet, even as Databricks approached its zenith, Ali often reminded his team, "We're still at the beginning. The next spark isn't a tool. It's a mindset. A world where everyone everywhere can turn their ideas into intelligence." He looked out over the vast network of data centers, code bases, and communities that now stretched across continents, the infrastructure of a digital civilization that his team had helped build, and felt a quiet, almost parental pride. For all the fire and fury of modern AI, what he cherished most wasn't the noise of innovation, but the silence of connection, that fragile, miraculous moment when a billion lines of code worked together in harmony, and something new, something beautiful emerged.